Oh, ho, ho, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Dr. Movie, another episode while I'm driving down the road. And I've had this problem. I've noticed this for the past, 3 or 4 weeks now, that I'm off one number when it comes to episodes in the week, right? So I'm throwing this extra bonus episode out there to end this week, so I have an even number, because I'm tired of, at the end of the week being at 79, right? I'd rather be at 80 and kick off the next week at 81 and go through 85 or whatever the numbers are at this point. I'm about a week and a half ahead on my movies, so I'm kind of confused on where I would be. Probably in the 90s by this point. I don't know, maybe in the 80s. But anyways, that point being said, I'm going to throw this extra one out there to kind of get me where I want to be number-wise. It just makes it easier for me to remember, because I'm a dumb guy, right? So yeah, welcome back to Dr. Movie, Road Warrior Reviews with Rick, where the doctor is in his car, and you're listening to me talk. That's a combination of several of the slogans I've been given. There you go. Anyways, I've been doing all the Smokey movies, and this one's not a Smokey movie. However, I am absolutely learning something here. So that's the good part of what's happening with this show. I am actually being edumacated, right? So I have found out, the beauty of Roger Corman, right, is he can take a movie. Now, I always say Roger Corman, right? And I know he's not the director of all of these, right? He's definitely tied into it, and probably has a lot of influence on what happens in these flicks, no doubt about it. But for this one, 1976, Eat My Dust. This one's kind of a classic, right? I know that in my family, in my in-law family for sure, this is one of those movies that they went and seen when they were kids, and remember it very distinctly. It's got that popular name, right? Came out in 76, action comedy, and let's see here. Let's read the synopsis. In California, a sheriff's son and his girlfriend steals a stock car and goes for a joyride, while the sheriff organizes a team to intercept them. Yeah, very basic. This is before Smokey and the Bandit, right? So even though it doesn't really tie into our whole Smokey theme that we've had going on this week, this one is a predecessor that kind of shows those road movies, right? Smokey and the Bandit was not the first road movie. Hicksploitation, if you want to call it that. You had a lot of movies that came up before. Now, Smokey and the Bandit's the most popular because they took the formula and made it a big budget hit, right? Eat My Dust is a good example of what it was beforehand, right? So, if you've never heard of this movie, really a shock, because you got Ron Howard as the main character in the movie, who plays Hoover, right? He's the one that's got the girlfriend and wants to go on the joyride with the stock car. He steals the stock car from the guy. I can't think of his name. Let me see if I can find him here. He was Dave Madden, right? Dave Madden was on the Partridge Family, right? The guy that was the booker of the band, I guess you'd say, the manager. That's really what I know him from, right? I don't know much anybody else in this movie except Clint Howard's in it. Of course, their dad's in it. Rance Howard's in there. Corbin Burnson's in this? I didn't know that. Paul Bartel makes a little cameo. But for the most part, a bunch of nobodies. It's a fun flick. It really is. But what I found out, there's a reason I was getting to this, and the reason that I included this, we did Smokey Bites the Dust earlier, and remember me talking about just the amount of car crashes and stuff? And I was like, I don't know how they could have afforded this. Well, I know how they afforded it now. Because several of the car crashes that are in Smokey Bites the Dust came from this movie. So, and there's another movie, and it falls short on my memory right now, but it's a David Carradine movie where he's driving a car, it's a bunch of car crashes. I'll think of it later on after I get through recording, because that's how this works. But the other half of the car crashes in Smokey Bites the Dust came from that movie. So we are reusing car crashes and throwing them into one movie, which is Smokey Bites the Dust, again, to cash in on the big Smokey and the Bandit movement, right? The beautiful thing about this, and this is what's wonderful about where we are now technology-wise, but it's also the beauty of what you could get away with in the 70s with the drive-in stuff, because there was no repeat, right? There was no getting a videotape and watching this movie and going, hey, wait a minute, this is the same footage from the movie that came out 2 years ago. You didn't have that capability. So, one, if you went and seen Smokey Bites the Dust and you had never seen Eat My Dust, you would never know that all this footage came from another movie, much like I just discovered, right? So, you know, again, the beauty of being able to just crank out flicks in a manner like they did for New World Cinema back then, it's pretty awesome when you think about it. Were they cutting corners? Absolutely. You're doing everything you could to tap into the market of whatever's hot at the time. Even if you reuse footage, I don't know, there's something I love about that. Only in the 70s, folks. I think that's the best description, is, you know, you could get away with it. And, you know, I think about, like, Kiss made, you know, the first 3 Kiss albums, and they didn't do very well, right? They didn't have any hits on them at the time. Then all of a sudden, they just absolutely exploded. So what does the record company do? We're going to repackage the first 3 albums as something special to get people to buy them that possibly even already bought them before. Think of the whole career we've had of George Lucas with Star Wars, right? It's almost the same thing. Hey, we found an extra 20 seconds of footage, so we're going to repackage the whole trilogy and people to buy it again. Yep, I'm one of those idiots. But, you know, you're really seeing that in action right here with the Roger Corman stuff. So I kind of have to give them props on that. As far as this movie, like I said, it was kind of the standard up until Smokey and the Bandit came out. It's a fun flick. It's just a road movie, folks. It's really not any different than any of the other ones. Probably better done. Some good chase scenes. I mean, they are in an actual speed car, right? So that makes a difference. And, you know, it's all to impress this girl, right? She's not even really his girlfriend. He walks up to her and hits on her at a car race, right? And even his dad's there, and his dad's the sheriff. And, you know, Hoover is known for driving too fast, right? He gets in trouble all the time. His dad's always saying, and his job apparently is to go around and change out paper towels in bathrooms. Didn't know that was such a required job back in the day, but somebody's got to do it. So they literally drive around in a van and go to, like, this car race and go to the bathrooms, open up those machines, throw the new paper towels in it, and that's what they do, right? Or that's what he does, and he's got a group of friends that hang out with him all the time. Well, his dad questions him about being at this point at this time, and this point at this time. There's no way you could have done that and not got a speeding ticket. Well, he pulls out a speeding ticket and hands it to his dad. So, yeah, you're exactly right. So Hoover's known for driving way too fast, and he's trying to impress this girl that's at the race. And she says, I want to go on a ride in that car. And Hoover goes down and tricks the guy that owns it and takes off in the car, gets the girl, and then they're on the road, right? And they stop and pick up friends along the way, and then they drop the friends back off, and then they go and hang out at this house that's abandoned. So you think they're getting all hot and friendly and stuff, so you kind of get that story going on. Then you got more and more chasing going on. He's afraid of his dad. His dad's going to throw the book at him because they don't have the best relationships anyways. But when it's all said and done, he brings the car back to the racetrack, drops the girl off, and she walks off. So even after all this, she never was really interested in Hoover. She was only interested in the car. Which, is that really that far from the truth? It's usually the case, right? I've been seeing these videos on Facebook, I don't know, somewhere. But this guy's like hitting on a girl that's walking by, and she says, "You're not my type," yada yada. And then he goes to get in his car, and it's a brand new whatever, state of the art. And they're like, "Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know that you had this kind of car," right? So now all of a sudden they want to hook up with the guy, and he gets in the car and he starts talking about, what a gold digger they are. So he's kind of throwing it back in their face. Sad to say, a lot of truth to that, right? The whole reason guys want fast cars anyways is to get the girls, right? That's kind of the whole. I mean, we're definitely have an appeal for fast cars, hot cars. I like the old Mopar stuff. But the girls, I think, like it even more. They're not going to buy them. They'd rather have a guy that has it so they can ride in it. Just throwing that out there. Anyways, it's not right, either side of it. Even if you agree or disagree, you know what happens, and it's not right. But anyways, that's guys. Guys will do anything to get girls, and that's just how that works. I don't know how I even got off on this subject, but that's really what this movie is about, right? So at the end of the day, he's heartbroken because the girl that he's totally enamored with is not interested in him at all. She just wanted to go on a joyride. And then the guy that owns the car is there and tells Hoover to jump in there and take it out on the track. And so they go speeding around the track, and that's when the movie goes off. That's pretty much this movie in a nutshell. It's a lot of car chases, and like I said, a lot of crashes. If you watch Smokey Bites the Dust, you've already seen a lot of the big chases and the big crashes and stuff. And it's a fun flick. Becky and I sit up the other night and watched it, and this is, again, movies that we saw at a very young age, probably 8 or 9 years old. So you remember very, very little about it, right? But for the most part, it's right there in the middle. So if you like Smokey and the Bandit and all that stuff, you gotta watch this movie, right? It's on Tubi for free. So don't hesitate. Go ahead and check it out. It belongs on your list of car movies, right? Road movies. Hicksploitation, if you want to call it that. So there you go, folks. Eat My Dust, 76. I recommend it. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Right? But it's still very enjoyable. It's almost a 4 out of 5, I'll be honest with you. But I just don't know that I'm that in love with it, right? I liked it. And it's nice to revisit. So there you go, folks. Check it out. And till next time, we will check you later.